Hello, hello. So in this video, we'll be talking about narcissistic relationships. And when we talk about narcissistic relationships, there's some key things that we need to shine the light on. Um, a lot of the time, narcissists they come into the lives of their victims. A lot of the time, the victims and who the lives they come into are going through periods of time where they may be um, looking for something real. They may have maybe in a tough rut, might be in a point in life where they're dealing with some stress. You notice that narcissists, a lot of the time, they pick their victims. Most of these people aren't people who kind of have their things together. A lot of the time, they're looking for someone that may be wounded, someone who's in a space where they're willing to uh, open themselves up to somebody. And what the narcissist essentially does is they play that perfect role. They come into the relationship um, playing a wonderful persona. They have their lives together, hardworking, trustworthy, loyal, all of these different things. But essentially, what the narcissist is doing, they're almost like an animal looking at their prey. They're slowly looking at the different areas and weaknesses that they see in the partner that they can have leverage in. Okay? So over time, as they begin to understand their partner, they begin to understand these leverage points that they have. And once they begin to kind of see where they have control, from there, they ride the wave. And so what I mean by ride the wave is narcissists, they're not the type to want to construct a lot of relationships necessarily. A lot of the time, narcissists, they do like monogamy. They do enjoy having someone that they can put all their attention into because that represents stability, and essentially their goal is to have that person give them all the attention that they need. So they have no problem taking their time, getting to know the person, learning all the harsh truths about the person, and beginning to slowly see a place in that person's life where they can fit and have power in that world. So a lot of the time you may find them with people who are very empathic, very, maybe in tough places, maybe wounded a bit. Okay? So for those people in relationships or have been in relationships with narcissists, it's important that you recognize that you also played a role. You allowed yourself to be susceptible. Um, you obviously didn't have enough personal power at that point in time to um, identify the narcissist or to open yourself up to them, right? And now in some cases, the person might be a normal person and they just meet a narcissist. Let's say they don't have any big issues or areas in their life. Nonetheless, what kind of hurts on the part of the partner is that this person, a lot of the time, the narcissist, portrays themselves as such a great person. So unless you kind of have that intuitive kind of nature where you're suspicious, it's very easy to find yourself looking at your narcissistic partner as like this all perfect person that's coming to your life. So right there is a huge clue. For those of you, um, dealing with partners, a huge sign to know whether they're a narcissist or not is by seeing, is this person just being extra perfect? Okay, does this person have no flaws? Does this person seem to be such a perfect guy? And what I notice is it messes us up. Men and especially women, are looking for this guy or this person that is exceptional. But a lot of the time, these people that present themselves as being exceptional, a lot of the time it's an illusion because we got to realize we're all people. That's why some of the best mates you can find are people who are just themselves. Like, hey, yep, this is what I am. Take it or, don't get me wrong, they should be always trying to develop themselves. But when somebody presents themselves in a way where they're just perfect, you have to realize that they're setting a standard that once you really get serious with them, if you do, it can only stay at that level for so long before you start dealing with human, realities about the person. So that's the first part. Now, as the narcissist begins to get attached with the person, one thing I notice about narcissists, They have no problem having kids, building a family. Their whole goal is to build a family. They want many versions of themselves. That's why when they look at children, they see children in a different light. You know, you notice a lot of the time they don't have problems having kids because they're not thinking in depth like most people about, well, can I take responsibility of the kid? Can I manage the kid? Like, it's a lot of responsibility. But with the narcissist, they're not worried about those things because they look at it as everything is an extension of themselves. So once you get in a relationship with the narcissist, you know, you'll notice a lot of the time they do want to have children. They do want to build a family. They tend to move fast. They want to lock you in, okay? Whether that be marriage, kids. They always throw little hints out that, yeah, we're going to do this in the future, we're going to do that. They need to lock you down. On a spiritual level, this is it's almost like quantum entanglement. It's an attachment. It's a spiritual cord that they're connecting. And when you engage in a deep relationship with them, especially once it gets to kids and marriage, you're now in a position where this person has a cord attached to you for life to a degree, right? So when you understand that, I hope that makes people a little bit more cognizant of what they're getting themselves into. Now, for those who do have kids with narcissists or who are in deep relationships or marriages, you can still get away. But it's just important that you use that situation as an opportunity to look out in the future for those guys or girls that come off as too perfect, have everything too much together in their life. So great that it's almost at a fault, okay? Because what you also want to look for in a mate is the realness of them, okay? And that comes with maturity, is viewing the flaws in someone and being able to appreciate those things. We have to learn to appreciate the subtle flaws, because when somebody's presenting themselves as all perfect, that's really a problem. You see what I'm saying? There's nothing wrong with being, putting your best foot forward and putting on your best, version of yourself for someone. But over time, if you don't see any moments where this person is just real, or you guys don't have a real discussion about anything that might have happened in life, or they don't have the ability to kind of take a joke and be like, well, look, I'm nothing, like, it's just the idea of being human. Narcissists they don't really see themselves as human. And that's what you begin to realize as you engage in a longer relationship with them. What begins to happen over time is, as you spend more and more time with them, you begin to realize that they can't take criticism. You begin to realize that in their mind, they have no faults. You see? So what may happen, for example, is anytime you get in a disagreement with the narcissist in a relationship, or you want to share your views, especially if you're empathic, your emotions are like thrown to the side. Your emotions aren't appreciated, okay? The words that you say, or when you truly express how you feel, it's almost as if it doesn't register. Like, it's like, who cares? Because you have to understand, in the mind and in the world of a narcissist, there's a high level of lack of empathy in their world. But even more so than that, there's a high level of entitlement, a high level of arrogance. And you begin to realize that when you find yourself going through true emotional pain or turmoil because of arguments or situations that every relationship has, but the way you're dealing with the narcissist is when they have an inability to address your emotions. Everything for them is logical. Everything is okay, this, that. Nothing involves your emotions, your feelings, your concerns are always pushed to the side. It's always made to be as if you're crazy, or you're too emotional, or there's something wrong with you. This is out of balance, but this is what the narcissist does. And they use your emotions, since they don't have them, as a way of controlling you. So you notice that you'll go through a very tough argument with the narcissist. And then over time, because you're empathic, you might feel bad. You might realize, like, man, I messed up, you know what I mean? And you might say, okay, I'm sorry. What you notice a lot of the time on their side, it isn't oh, I'm sorry too, I know I messed up too. That's not going on. It's, okay, yeah, you were wrong, but we can make it work still. It's a completely one-sided thing. They have an extremely tough time accepting the fact that they played a role, that they were wrong. You see? And when you're dealing with somebody like this, that's very dangerous. You're dealing with someone that's extremely toxic, because essentially what you're realizing is they have a weakness, and they have a weakness of accepting fault. And anybody who has a weakness of accepting fault means that they have an inability then to a degree to grow. That means their growth is capped off. Okay, because the main component of growth is one's ability to acknowledge where they may be failing. And because narcissists lack this ability to self-reflect and be critical of themselves, right? What essentially happens is they have this great ability to be critical of you, but it's not happening in return. And so what's happening is you're having this unbalanced level of guilt and shame being put towards one partner, and it begins to make the partner feel extremely isolated. To make things even worse, the narcissist, when they go out into the world, or when you two are together, or when they go out with their friends and family, people can't pick up on this side of the narcissist. So you begin to feel very alone in your own relationship, because when you tell your friends about it, or family about it, or whoever, it's hard for them to see it, because every time the narcissist is around with family, they're joking around, they're laughing, they're making sure everything's okay, they're cooking, cleaning. Narcissists tend to follow a pattern. They tend to make sure remember, it's all about status, looking good in the public. So they do all the duties that look good on paper, right? But the thing about your emotions and your feelings is that these things are not some things you could just write on a paper. These things require understanding. These things take time. And narcissists don't have the patience for those things. But in the eyes of the family, they're taking care of everything else. They got a job, they're working hard, they're joking with their friends all the time. They have a perception and they create a narrative for themselves and project this personality as if they have everything together, like they're really good people. But then when it's just them and their mate, they're draining their mate. They're so toxic. They're isolating their mate. They're doing little things like, for example, they do things like they'll say, well, you know what, if you're going to act like that, I'm just going to go with her, right? And don't get me wrong, a lot of different people do that, but the way you know it's a narcissist is that they're playing on your emotions, and they're doing it out of control. It's not genuine. It's not like, no, I really might be with a different person or that. No, they're using that person as a chess move against you, right? Because they want to make sure that you don't go beyond your parameters when it comes to challenging them. So they find out the different moves, the different things that hit your soul, and they use these things as ways to leverage over you so that they keep you in control. Okay? So what you begin to deal with in these relationships is just a lot of toxicity. Also, you begin to feel almost insane, because you're seeing the true nature of this person when it's just you two. But then when you go out into the world, it's almost like you're in an illusion, because they're a whole different person. And everyone's buying into the illusion of this narcissist. So you begin to feel isolated in your own world. A lot of the time, narcissists can win over your own friends, win over your own family, to the point that your own friends and family will think there's something wrong with you. I mean, this is how powerful the manipulation is when you're dealing with narcissists. And when it comes to children, it's no different. They create narratives with the children. They brainwash and mind control the children to think that the other parent, there's something wrong with them. And a lot of the time, for a lot of men, for example, or even women, but a lot of men I know who are in situations with narcissists, who have kids, when they break up, the narcissist takes full custody of the child, doesn't let the parent see the child, talks bad about the parent, and next thing you know, it hurts so much because your own child is getting a warped view of you. And it's hard for them to see anything different, because it's their own mother or father who they're with. And especially when it's the mother, because you got to realize the child came from the mother's womb. The child is bonded with the mother innately on a level that it's hard for a father to supersede. So when you have a mother creating this narrative, telling your child all these things about you, when you love your child and this person's keeping your child from you, think about how isolating and destructive that can be for a father or a mother or a parent, being isolated from their own child. And to make it worse, their own child is viewing the parent negatively. You see, These are the dangerous things that narcissists do. The whole goal of the narcissist in a relationship is to take control of your mind. They want to control your space. They want to isolate you from everyone that is going against them. So sometimes in a lot of situations when you're with the narcissist, you begin to find yourself not liking certain family members you once liked, not being cool with friends that you once were cool with, beginning to feel isolated from sometimes even your own children, because, and next thing you know, it's just you and them. And then if they turn on you, guess what? A lot of the time you have nothing, because this narcissist had you in such a illusory experience of their world that you begin to lose touch with so many aspects of yourself that you were a part of before you got with the narcissist. You see? So this is how they work. They come in, they play the perfect guy, perfect woman. As they begin to get to know you, they begin to find the areas where you're lacking in. They begin to overcompensate in those areas so that they can have that trust. They can have that, you begin to build that bond with them. Once the bond and the cord is there, they begin to apply control. And if you try to leave out in any way, right, they have mechanisms to keep you isolated. The worst thing you can do is try to leave the narcissist, right? They will make you suffer. They want to make you suffer, okay? They can't just let you leave peacefully. Sometimes it's so toxic and so hard to let loose of a narcissist that a lot of people just give up. They just say, screw it, I'm not going to stay with this person to keep the peace. It takes a very powerful person to say, forget it, I don't care. I'm breaking free. I don't care what it takes. I'm going to have my freedom. And let me tell you, for those people, you're an exceptional person, because a lot of people give up. A lot of people give up to the control, okay? Because it's such a tough battle, and it's such an individual, interpersonal battle. It's a battle that takes place within within your apartment or within your home. Outside of the home, nobody has a clue, because the narcissist outside of the home, they're just putting on their next suit. They're all about looking the part, playing the part to get what they need. They're very logical in that regard, okay? And they don't deal with emotion like we deal with emotion. They deal with emotion as a tool, okay? As a tool to blend in and have control and power. They will be whoever they need to be to get to wherever they need to get. That's why the narcissist is so dangerous. They're spineless. They're weak. They're untrustworthy when it boils down to it, okay? They will step on anybody's neck to get to that place that they want to get to, including you, okay? And when you understand that you have a person like that, and you're so closely tied to a person like that, yeah, it does get kind of frightening, and it is a big deal, and it is tough. But what's more tough and what's more powerful is the person who has the fortitude to break free from that situation, because the minute you do that, you're now stepping into a new paradigm, an opportunity to actually live free. The truth of the matter is this, man. When you're with a narcissist, your life is clouded. No matter how great and wonderful and beautiful things may seem, you never have true access to what true freedom and love and light is. Okay? And that's why, as bad as it may seem that you have to end the family, your family, and tear apart your relationship over years, what you got to realize is you're letting go, like they say, or like I've heard before, in order to gain a higher reality, you must let go of a lower reality. Or in order to have a higher gift in life, right? A higher gift from God or whatever, a higher lift from the universe, you have to let go of a lower gift. And a lot of people are afraid to let go of what they once thought was so beautiful. But what you have to understand is this is an opportunity for you to tap into true love and light, okay? It's almost like you're clinging on to your 1995 Honda, and you don't want to let it go, not realizing that there's a 2020, Mercedes or, whatever, waiting for you. You see, this is how things work with the narcissist. They don't want you to know. They don't want you to tap into that light that exists outside of them. Because they want you to think that this is the best thing you can ever get in life. And if you leave this, you'll never have nothing like this. You see? But what you will realize is you're like, wow, since I've been with you, I realized that I'm isolated. I'm alone. Like, I've let go of some of my own loved ones that I care about. It's amazing how much they create such a foggy environment for your clarity and for your headspace. In a healthy relationship, you should have the freedom to grow. You should be growing with your partner, not just physically, not just materially, meaning the big house. And it should also be spiritually and mentally. And a lot of the time in these narcissistic relationships, they drain their empathic partners of that emotional and mental clarity, because they know that the more free and clear that your mind and emotional spirit is, the less control they have of it. So guess what? They're not going to let that happen. But guess what? You're not going to let that happen. Because it's time for you to take control. Okay? We're no longer allowing ourselves to be drained by these narcissistic relationships for those going through them. Okay? Understand that this person is a gift in disguise. And here's what I mean. They're an opportunity for you to have to push yourself even harder than you ever have in order to get back to the light. And when you get to the light and you begin to taste that aroma and smell the fresh air and see the sunshine outside of this foggy world that the narcissist has created for you, you begin to realize that, wow, life is pretty amazing. Freedom is pretty amazing. Don't ever let anything, stop you from obtaining that freedom. Nothing is worth more than the freedom of mind, the freedom and having a great heart space, and being happy to wake up and feeling free and being able to make your own decisions. This is the beauty of life that many people in relationships with narcissists are missing out on. There are other partners out there that can give you what you deserve. But first, you have to want what you deserve, and you have to claim what you deserve. It all begins with you. So let me ask you this as I begin to end this video, is with this one question. How important is your freedom? How important is your clarity of mind? How important is your personal power? I want you to answer those questions for you. Because if it's a simple answer, or if it's something that's not that important, well, guess what? That explains it. Maybe you need to stay with the narcissist then. Maybe you deserve to be in that situation. But for those people that really gave a true answer to that said it's worth everything. That said, think about it. People have died for freedom. People have died for freedom. Let me tell you this. Are you willing to go the extra mile? Are you willing to not compromise for your freedom? If you are, I promise you, there's nothing the narcissist can do about it. You'll begin to see the narcissist become like a little baby because they can't do anything. But it begins with you recognizing that they are narcissists, beginning to recognize the little moves that they make and the controls that they put in place to keep you stuck. And it begins to be your job to move past those things, see past those things, and become the higher person, become the bigger person. And I promise that if you do that and begin to continue to learn about narcissism, there's nothing they can do to stop you. But the key thing is, how much do you want your freedom? And what are you willing to do to fight for your personal power? With that being said, I hope you learned a lot about the relationships and how they go about relationships when you're in a relationship with a narcissist. And I hope this sheds light on just the mentality that it takes to recognize a narcissist, and also the mentality that it takes to break free from a narcissist. It essentially all boils down to you. But I promise you, if you choose you over anything else, there's nothing they can do to stop you. And with that being said, I'll talk to you soon.